Why hello everybody, Spencer here, also known as LEGO Dude 11, and in today's video, this is my Hitman spoiler review, so without further ado, let's discuss. Alright guys, so as I said, this is a spoiler review for the movie Hitman that came out on Netflix. Now, there needs to be a little bit of a precursor to this movie itself, because going into this, the score for this movie is done by Graham Reynolds, and I quite like the score a lot. There were some songs throughout the movie that were repeated through the movie, and I actually quite like that. And the score of the movie worked really well for me. I like this, like the action vibe. But this movie is not just action. And when I watched the trailer, I gave a little bit of housekeeping backstory on how I feel about this. So, love this movie. But going into it, I was like, I heard that Glenn Powell was doing this movie called Hitman, and I was kind of like back early in the spring semester at school, and I was like, okay. Like I remember walking in the gym. I was walking laps in the gym, and I was like, okay, hearing this about Sean Chandler talk about this on a video, and I'm like, okay, this is quite interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. Is this going to be like a ripoff of John Wick? Is this going to be a John Wick parody? What is this? And then I watched the trailer and I kind of got like an odd impression of what is this movie supposed to be? So, and then I heard at like a fan screening that lots of people enjoyed it. So I was like, okay, how real is that? Because lots of people, like some people said that about Indiana Jones last year, and then that wasn't good, and just a bunch of things out in the air. So then actually when the Rotten Tomatoes review came out, like, I don't know, a month before the film was actually supposed to be released on Netflix, a streaming movie, it got certified fresh. So I'm like, wow, that must mean really good. So I had high hopes, but again, it was still on Netflix, which Unfrosted came out, and lots of other things on Netflix don't really make me, like movies, not shows, big movies don't like drama. Like Atlas just came out on Netflix, and I was, so I was like, how good is it really? I knew it had good reviews, but I was like, how good? And this movie is so good. The directing and the writing, or the writing itself, so good that I love the creative ending that they do. I'll talk about that later. But the directing by Richard Linklater, who did School of Rock, Dazed and Confused, the Before trilogy, which I actually haven't watched the Before trilogy. I'm trying to save that for later, like if I watch something like with like a girlfriend or something, that might be a good date. Those might be good date night movies. But on the other hand, this is such a good director that I totally didn't that I forgot that he did what was this, that I forgot he like did School of Rock and stuff. Those are, oh yeah, this guy. And this movie's so good. It couldn't be like any bit this almost might be a top 10 movie for me this year. But going down the line, like I'm really excited for the movie Wolves and stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out like what I'm gonna put on it. But this story of being a fake hitman, him working as a professor, teaching these classes, and then working for the police, and like going undercover as a fake hitman, using all these personas, which is what you see in the trailer. And I was like, huh? What's this supposed to be? But it actually works for the main plot, for the main draw of the movie. And then you get into the main deep nitty gritty of it. It's like a comedy, action, romance film, and I love it. Or any way you want to phrase that. But I love it because it's like all these genres, and it's not trying to be like these cartoon movies like Space Jam or SpongeBob Out of Water, where it's like 20 movie ideas into one. Or even the Transformers, the Mark Wahlberg ones, that was terrible. But this one, where it has these themes, but it's knitted so well. By the end, you go, but by the end, I went, that was perfect. And there's just one scenario where by the way, the cast and the acting is just stunning. I looked up, did some research afterwards. I looked up the cast during it. Like, who's this guy? He looked like someone else I knew, like the bearded guy, Jasper. Nobody I knew, but Retta, who is one of the cast members from Parks and Rec, I really like her, and the guy Glenn Powell, main guy, who is taking on all these personas, and there's this one scenario where, by the way, I had to do a brief side note. Glenn Powell is probably the newest best star in Hollywood, besides female, besides like Florence Pugh and Anna Taylor-Joy. Glenn Powell is just gleaming. I mean, him in Top Gun, him in Anyone But You. I haven't seen that, but he did okay in that. This, and now he's gonna be in Twisters. He's just showing up. But I liked seeing him in this. And one of the scenarios where he's going to these getting these money from people and then reporting them to the police. One of these scenarios is this woman, and he's like, "I'm going to be your therapist." So he kind of falls in love with her, and that's kind of where the whole story takes place, like kicks into high gear, which is just great from there. And there's this whole like intrigue, like with her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, and then like intrigue into there, like who killed him? Oh wait, it was actually you, the woman I'm in love with. Oh no, I just made out with you. Blah blah blah. Oh, it's so good. And she's actually in love with this other persona named Braun, not Gary Johnson, the teacher professor, but she's in love with the hitman who she thinks is a hitman. And then there's this whole reveal that he's fake, and that she killed her boyfriend or maybe husband, and that he's a fake hitman. Oh, it's so good. And by the end, what I love about this ending, right? What I love about this ending, I'm going to spoil it. What I love about it is that when they go in, that there's the intrigue, right? That the police, Retta, Jasper, this Indian guy, and Glenn Powell's character, Gary Johnson, are all like, all right, so she killed the husband, right? So she did it. We're trying to figure out this mystery, man. She did it. We're trying to figure it out. So we're gonna go in. We're gonna have you, Glenn Powell, go in, like have an earpiece and talk to her about like why she did. Like, is she guilty? Did she kill him? So Glenn Powell goes to the house and holds up his phone, like with the earpiece. So they're talking. They can't see him, but he holds up the phone with the messages on his phone saying, "The police are here. The police are listening. And I need you to deny that you didn't kill your husband." And it's the perfect. And then he keeps swiping on his phone, like saying, like to tell her, say this, say this, say this, because they're still in love. He's trying to win her back. Because after the part where they broke up, after the part he tells her that he's fake hitman, and she's like, "I killed my husband, X." She's like, "Get out of the house. I don't want to see you again." But he comes and shows up. And he's trying to win her back in this argument where the police are listening. At the same time, they just had this other argument, they can't know. He can't have her know what they're saying, like that they're actually together, that they actually were a thing. It's so good. And by he swipes the last time. He's like, "Big finale. Tell me to kick me out of my house. Kick me out of your house." Oh my god. It was so good. I was loving it. I'm like, she's totally into this. And by the end, when Glenn Powell comes back to the house, and you see Jasper sitting there, and this big turnaround, I wasn't expecting it, and this big turnaround of, "I'm going to get us a beer, celebration beer," right? So what happens next? Oh my god, it's just so good. I could watch this movie again. It was so good. This has to be in my top 10 in the year after me talking about this. He gets a beer, right? And I didn't even see this coming. He drinks it, and he's like falling on the floor. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to take both of you in." And you know what happens next? He just falls to the floor. And she's like, Glenn Powell's like, "What just happened?" She says, "I drugged a cop. I can't believe I drugged a cop, and I'm going to go to jail." And Glenn Powell's like, "No problem." Goes, gets a grocery bag, puts it over the head of Jasper, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll get along. We'll go along with it. We'll get away with it." And so they go to the cop. He just suffocates Jasper, and you see time go by. He's teaching his class. Oh, by the way, in the middle of the film, Glenn Powell runs into his old ex, and he's like, "This is the person, like Sophia. I think her name was Sophia. Maybe I'm just pulling a random name out of my butt. But anyway, she's like, yeah, she's the best friend I've ever had since we broke up." So I was like, that's cool moment in the film where if you have a female, or like you have an ex, or you had a crush, that you just hang out with the person. Now, maybe you had bad blood, but I don't know. But that's a neat way. That's a neat little tie-in in the film that I just kind of liked. So, but the end, time passed. He's still teaching as his professor's job there, and then you see him and Marissa. Not Marissa. What was her name? What was Maddie Masters, Madison. That's what it was, Madison, and Ray Masters was the husband, was the ex-husband, and Glenn Powell, Madison, and they have a kid. They have 2 kids. They have a daughter and a son, and the daughter says, "How did you and Daddy meet?" And Glenn Powell's like, "Well, we met at a magical place called the See You Cafe." Please You Cafe, and like it was romantic, and then and then he takes a piece of pie and goes, and she goes, "How's the pie?" And she goes, "All pie is good pie," which is a recurring line in the movie, and I love the way this ended with that line. I love the way that they mentioned how they met, because I thought he was gonna say, well, he's like, I always had to put on an act. And I just love that they had kids at the end. The great, fresh, original movie. I couldn't have loved this more. This for me, my rating on this one is, again, like I said, this is creative directing, writing by, I don't know if Richard Linklater wrote this movie, but he definitely directed it. Great all around. I remember there was something, Hitman movie, producers. Jason Bateman also wrote this too, produced this too. Jason Bateman. So I love Jason Bateman, and he worked on Air, and he's done other things. Like I think he was in Ozark. So I love Jason Bateman, and I was like, that made this movie a little bit better. So I like that a lot. My final creative ending, great writing, great directing by Richard Linklater. My final rating on this is definitely a 9 out of 10. I highly recommend you watch this movie on Netflix. I always have problems with Netflix that they just put things on, take things off, and vice versa, like all the time. But this should be on there forever. I love this movie. 9 out of 10. Definitely will probably be on my top 10 in the year, depending on how Wolves goes, because it's another kind of action movie. I'm just trying to how I feel about it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this review. Let me know if you watched Hitman this weekend, or if you plan on watching it. I definitely think you should. I don't know if it's PG-13 or R. Let me see. Let me see. It's R. Hitman's R. So I just couldn't remember. Comedy, action, romance. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this review. If you like, subscribe, follow me. Be sure to follow me at Instagram, Boba Fett Master, links down below. Inside Out 2, coming next week. Keep calm. Watch stuff. Peace out, everyone. Bye.